Hello there everyone, my name is Crazy Caleb and today we're going to be taking a look at Simon Swivels. This is a continuation of our Vanilla Swirls series and this is a combination of Simon Says and the knob being the knee. So this is the way the module looks. We have a knob in the dead center and we've got 4 buttons from Simon Says around in each direction, up, left, right, and down. So let's get right into this. Let's see exactly what we need to do with this mod. This module is probably the second trickiest of the series because of the fact that there's going to be one component that I'll get into in just a moment. But let's go through the steps and let's see exactly what we need to do here. So, a sequence of color buttons will flash. In this case, it will always start off with 2, and it will be continuing. It will gradually gain in flashes each stage, and it's pretty straightforward. The knob's can be set to one of the 4 possible positions, as you can see right here, and it will also be colored one of the 4 possible buttons, which will be relevant to a couple rules down below. Use the first satisfied rules in the correct tables below to find which direction is up, and which direction relative to the up direction to set the knob. So in this case, we have these 2 tables that we're going to be dealing with here, assigning the up position and setting the knob. I'm going to write down in my little notepad here, up equals, because that's what we're going to be figuring out here. So now, let's go through these rules and let's figure out which positions up is and where we're going to actually be setting the knob relative to up. So now for both tables, what's going to happen here is that we need to figure out which side of the table we're actually using. And both cases will be an XOR case. If exactly one of the following is true, use left table, otherwise the right table. And it's the exact same case for here. If exactly one of the following is true, left table, otherwise right. However, the edge work conditions that will be asked here will be different in each. So, the serial number contains a vowel. Let's check. It does indeed. And the bomb has 2 or more batteries. It does not. Okay. So in this case, we have exactly one of the following true. So we're going to be using the left table in this case. So, and this will always be the way it is throughout the entire mod. This stuff, obviously, as you can see, edge work never changes. So we don't need to really worry about that. Now, let's go through the rules. If the last flash matches the knob's color, in this case, the knob's color is red, and the last flash is indeed actually red. So in this case, the red button faces up. So in this case, red is going to be up equals red in this case. So this equals up, yellow equals right, green equals down, and blue is equal to left in this case. Now, there's a couple of rules that I want to make sure I go over real quick because it's a little bit weird. Some of these rules are a bit particular. You will see 2 cases. There's going to be 2 specific rules that you need to pay attention to, and the third one being different from. There's going to be the south-facing button, and there's going to be the north-facing button. In this case, if there happens to be north or south mentioned, you are going to do that relative to the module, not relative to the knob. So in this case, if we happen to get the left table and we have to take a look at this rule, we're not going to be paying attention to north being representing up, which in this case would be red. We're going to be paying attention to north being yellow and south being the blue. But the third rule that I'm going to get into is in this position. If the button facing down flashes last. So in this case, if it's referring to button facing down, it's not referring to blue, it's referring to green in this case. Because our up position is equal to red. I'm going to mark in red because I don't want to make sure we get confused with it being right, for example. So, that's the rules that you need to worry about. Those are the big ones that are kind of easy to mess up, and I've actually messed up on them for several recordings beforehand, so I figured I'd clarify those immediately going into this. But now, let's get into setting the knob here. So if exactly one of the following is true, use left table. Is there a parallel port? There is indeed. And a lit indicator labeled FRK. There is not. Okay. So we're going to be taking a look at the left table here as well. Now, if more than one pair of opposite facing buttons flash consecutively, in this case, this is never going to be possible in the first stage. We do actually have 1 pair of consecutive opposite flashing colors. And if we were to get, for example, so we have green, red at this stage, the flashes do not change, but the inputs might. If we were to get a green, red, green, for example, this would indeed apply to this rule because we do have more than 1 pair. In this case, the green, red, and the red green. But for right now, it is not possible to get this rule, so therefore we do not have to worry about this one. Otherwise, if the north-facing button flashes exactly once, in this case, yellow is not flashing at all, so therefore we are not going to be applying this rule. Otherwise, if the red button flashes twice or more, In this case, we do not have that happen. Otherwise, set the knob to the up position. Okay, so we're going to be setting this to the up position in this case, which is going to be corresponding to red. So, now what do we do from this point on? We're going to use the table corresponding to the color of the button the knob is pointing at, in this case red, to find a sequence of buttons to press. And the knob must be in the correct position before any buttons are pressed. So we're going to take a look at the sequence here, and what we're going to do is we're going to set the knob to a specific color. In this case, as you can see, we have set it to the up position, which was red. And now, because of the fact that the knob is pointing at this, we're going to take a look at the red table here. The top bit, the columns are going to represent the color that you get, in this case blue, yellow, green, red. And the rows are going to represent the rule that is represented by the color. In this case, the red is going to be equal to the amount of strikes you have. Yellow would be bomb time remaining, in this case 75%, 50 to 75, 25 to 50, or under 25%. Green is going to represent the solved modules. In this case, it's the exact same case, but going in ascending order. And blue is a very special rule. Blue is referring to the timer activations. Now, what exactly are the timer activations? Well, if we take a look, the sequence will lengthen by 1 each time the sequence of presses is correctly entered into the module until it is solved. Okay. Once the first button is pressed, the LED will activate, and the LEDs will activate, and a 40-second timer will begin to count down. The patterns of lit LEDs form a 2x4 region in one of the 5 4x6 tables below. When the timer expires, the knob must be facing the corresponding button. The timer will continue to activate until the module is solved. This is where the knob component comes into play here. So, if we take a look here, resetting the timer, and as you can see, there is a wide variety of different possible patterns that you can get from these tables here. And X is representing the lit LED positions, and the knob, there's a knob table here, which represents the button that shares its color with the knob. So in this case, if you happen to get in this table, you would set it as to be red in this example. So that's what's going to be making this module tricky. I would like to give you a fair warning before we actually get into the inputs for this, that I will very likely strike on the knob resetting, because it is very tricky to actually find one of these 5x6 tables. Very tricky. And another thing that's very irritating is that it doesn't give you a timer on the 40-second warning. But the nice thing is that you're able to actually do this module whenever you want, but it will only activate when the when the module is activated with and interactive. So that's quite nice. So let's take a look and let's see exactly what we need to do here. So we're looking at the red table because we need to be pointing at red. And remember that when you're going to be inputting buttons, you need to make sure that the knob is pointing at the correct position, regardless of whether the knob is activated or not. So, for red equals strikes. So in this case, we are going to be taking a look at green and then red. Green, and we currently have 0 strikes, is going to give me a red, and red is going to give me a green. Pretty straightforward. So in this case, we're pointing our knob in the correct position. Let's hit red, green. Okay, the knob is activated. And let's take a look at this pattern. So we're looking for the blue LEDs, which are the ones that represent lit, which in this case is actually right here. So in this case, we found that red was the one that we needed to set it to. As you can see, empty, empty, filled, filled, empty, empty, filled, filled for the columns. And in this case, this corresponds to red. So we can actually leave this pointing here, but now what we can do is we can continue on with the module here, because the module is what we need to be focusing on. I'm also going to be noting down the timer of resets that we have had. So in this case, the activation is 0, or in this case, we've activated it 1 time. So let's take a look at the new rules now. So we have to go through the rules again. Assigning the up position, in this case, we're going to start with the left table. The last slash matches the knob's color. It still does. Yes, red is the last color, so in this case, the red button will be facing up. Nothing changes here. If more than one pair of facing buttons flashes consecutively, set the knob to the left position. No, we do not have opposites yet. Okay, we gotta focus on the reset here. This is the second reset. Okay, we're looking for very few of these. Come on. And as you can see, this is very, very tricky to find this stuff. Now, one thing I should note is that the table does not loop around. And it is being very irritating to find this one. Where are you? Shit. And as you can see, this is very likely where I'm going to strike. Yeah, I can't find it. Apparently it was red. I apparently got lucky. It was either red or it was either knob. Doesn't look like it was red. This is the only two cases where those columns match. It has to be a knob case. Right here. Yeah, I totally missed this spot. Okay. All right, another media activation. Okay. And this one should be a bit easier to find, hopefully. Look, see if we can find it. This one's not being quite nice. I don't really like this. I'm looking for a big 2x4 square. There has to be somewhere. That would be helpful to find. And it looks like I'm not going to be finding this.
I'm afraid I can't take it.
I am not sure where that was. But as I mentioned before, I told you I was going to strike. It did happen. It might have been blue for all I know. I just don't know where it was. Because I feel like it should have been here. But that would mess this up. I'm not quite sure. Okay, number 4. This is just to give you an idea of what we're looking at here. This one looks like we've had this one before. Yes, this is going to be pointing to red. Okay, so we're pointing at red right now. That's good to go. This one's set up for us. Let's get back to the work that we need to do here. So we've set this up to the correct position. Let's continue setting the knob here. If more than one pair of opposite-facing buttons flashes consecutively, no. If the north-facing button flashes exactly once, we have not had yellow flash, so no. If the red button flashes twice or more, in this case, that is indeed true. So we're going to be moving the knob to the right position. Now, I'm not going to set it to the right position necessarily right now, because of the fact that we're dealing with the knob. Okay, but now we can set it to the right position. We can do yellow equals remaining time, because that's the color that the knob is pointing at. And let's take a look at our color flashes here. So the remaining bomb time, we're obviously above 75%. I started with an hour 20, with 120 minutes. We've got green, red, red, which is going to be yellow, green, green. Yellow, green, green. Okay, this is the 5th activation. Let's take a look at this one. We've actually had this sequence before. This is literally the exact same case we just got before. Perfect. So we can set it back to red while we're doing our work here. And we actually do get a pair of opposite color flashes, so this actually makes our life a lot easier. But this does change the up position that we get. The last color flash no longer matches the knob's color. It's now green. If the same button flashes twice in a row, this is true. Yellow is going to be facing up. So yellow is going to be our north position. Up is equal to yellow. Now, with this point, we actually have more than one pair of opposite color flashes. So therefore, this is going to be the left position regardless. And we're actually in the left position right now. If yellow is up, red is going to be the left position. So now let's use this position. Let's use this table here to represent the number of strikes. There is currently 1 strike now, and we have green, which is blue. We've got red, double red, which is green, green, and we have a green again, which is another blue. So let's do blue, green, green, blue. Okay, there should be one more stage. Let's find this guy first real quick. I believe I found it right here. Yes, this is yellow. So in this case, we're going to point it to yellow for the timer. And now that we've reached 6 or more timer activations, we do not need to keep track of this anymore. Once we reach the 6th activation, we simply don't care about it. You can obviously wait for that, but it's very risky to take this chance here. So let's get back to the table here. So if the last color flashes the knob, no, it's not. And in this case, the same button still flashes twice in a row. Yellow is still going to be facing up. Okay? And we still have more than one pair of flashes flashing consecutively. So in this case, we're going to set it back to left. Red is equal to the number of strikes. We still have 1. And in this case, the only thing that's going to change in the sequence is going to be the last flash that we get, which in this case was blue. Now, since we've done 5 flashes, we should be at the end of the module if we input this correctly. Blue, green, green, blue. And just like that is a solved module. So it gets easier throughout the entire mod, especially when more rules apply that make it a lot easier to do. If you get this rule on the left side of the table, it's so good to have that because you don't have to worry about checking it anymore. And in this case, in this top example, all I had to do was simply say, is the last flash red? Otherwise, we're simply going to be applying this rule. So there will be definitely a couple of nice cases that you get. Sometimes the positions will not change. It's not necessarily required to change. But as you can see, that module is a very difficult balance of knob and getting the work done. which is why it's very important that when the knob activates, you focus on that, because that's going to give you time to work. So, apologies for missing that one example. I'm not quite sure exactly where I was supposed to go with that. It apparently wasn't red or knob, so I'm not really all that certain, and I'm not really going to bother looking around for it too much. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say about that. So let's go into one more example. Let's go into that. And hopefully I can get this thing done, because this is a very tricky one to actually teach. And it's a very tricky one to do in general. It's very tough to balance all this stuff happening all at the same time. So, but just that's the way you want to keep it in mind. You want to be playing it safe just in case you happen to get a blue case. I just want to show that off because it's very, very important, because this actually is relevant to the knob activations. Okay, our knob is blue, so that's very, very likely that we might be getting something. Now let's take a look at our opposition. So assigning our opposition, in this case, the serial number has a vowel, it does not, or the bomb contains 2 or more batteries. In this case, we do not have that happen. So we're going to be using the right table. Both rules are false. We need exactly one of them to be true, but in this case, we're going to take a look at you. So for this one, if the south-facing button flashes last, in this case, the south is referring to yellow. No. If the blue button flashes exactly once, in this case, that is true. So blue is going to be facing up. So up is going to be equal to blue. Write down our timer activations here, because it's currently equal to 0. Now let's take a look at our setting the knob position. The bomb has a parallel port. In this case, that is not true. Or there's a lit indicator labeled FRK. There is indeed, actually, yes. So now we're going to be using the left table again. And it's a nice start, I think, because we do start off with one opposite pair. That's going to be quite good for us. But in this case, this rule does not apply. If the north-facing button flashes exactly once, in this case, red is not flashing, so therefore we do not care about that. If the red button flashes twice or more, we do not care about that. Otherwise, set the knob to the up position. Okay, here we go. So in this case, we're going to set the knob to the up position, which in this case represents blue. And we're now going to use the timer activations rule here. So in this case, we've got green and blue. Green. So we've got blue. And we've got green, which represents blue. And we've got blue, which represents red. So in this case, we're going to hit blue-red here. Okay, timer activation is now a 1. I believe we've had this one before. I believe this was yellow. Yes, it was indeed. Okay, so let's point it at yellow. We've been getting a lot of duplicates, which is quite nice. We do get a red flash, so that might change something here. But for right now, let's take a look at the rules again. South-facing flashes last. It does not in this case. Blue button still is flashing exactly once. Blue is going to be facing up. Okay. We do not have the opposite case flashing yet. If the north-facing button flashes exactly once, true. Set the knob to the down position. So once it resets, we're going to set it to green. And now we're going to take a look at the green table here. So the number of solved modules, in this case, we don't have any on this MOM that are solved. It's 0 out of 1. It's going to be under 25%. So in this case, we're now going to take a look at green, blue, and red. Green is red, blue is green, and then red is going to be blue. Timer activation is 2. But let's get this inputted into the modules. We've got red, green, blue. Okay, let's take a look at the needy now, because it's very important to do that. I don't see that. I'm looking for an L, looking for like a little bit backwards L piece. If I can find that, that would be good. No. Here we go. Yep, it's green. As you can see here, we have the green patch. We have the green patch path. We have the green pattern matching. We point at green. It resets. Therefore, we're good to go. Okay. I don't think many rules change here, except the south-facing button is not flashing last. The blue button is no longer flashing exactly once. If red and yellow flash consecutively, we've not had yellow flash, so therefore no. Otherwise, the red faces up, so red is going to be our new up in this case. I believe that was number 3, either 3 or 4. Let's just hope we don't get it again. Okay, we're looking for this, like, sort of, like top left quarter piece. That would be nice to find. Just by its lonesome. Okay, this one's a bit interesting. Here we go. It's yellow. As you can see, we have this pattern here, so let's point it at yellow for the time being. Okay, so we said that the red face is up now. So now, let's take a look. If more than one pair of opposite facing buttons flashes, no, we still do not have that yet. North facing button flashes exactly once. True. We still have red flashing exactly once, so we're going to be setting this to the down position, which in this case, it is already set to the down position, yellow, because red is up. Okay, so yellow is going to be the table that we're looking at here. We're still greater than 75% of the bomb time. It's only 5 minutes. And now let's take a look at our flashes here. So we'll come back to this, we'll get the timer reset. But at least we have the table figured out that we need to look at here. So let's take a look. So we're looking for, I believe we've had this one before. Again, a lot of duplicate cases. We actually have, hold on, that's not the one. It's very close, but no cigar. Knob. It's going to be the knob for this one. Yep, so knob, so it's going to be putting up the blue here. Now, let's use the table, and let's figure out which, what colors we're going to be putting into the module here. So, we're going to be pointing at yellow when we input this into the mod here. And now, let's take a look at our flashes. Green is yellow, blue is blue, red is green, and blue is going to be blue. Okay, so now let's input yellow, blue, green, blue. That's good. We have another opposite pair of flashing colors. That's perfect. So that takes care of that rule. Now let's take a look at our next position. Let's take a look at our last timer. This is going to be set to timer 6 now. That is not pointing at yellow. That is going to be pointing somewhere else. Close by. Here we go. Yes. It's going to be another knob case. As you can see, we have this little pattern matching here. And let's point this at blue for the time being. So now, south-facing button flashes exactly last. Blue button flashes exactly once. No. We've not had yellow flash. Red button is still facing up. And now we're going to be pointing it at the left position, which in this case actually happens to correspond to blue. So perfect. So we're now at six or more activations. Now let's do the sequence here. And it's going to be palindrome. So green is equal to blue. Blue is equal to green. Red is equal to yellow. And then green, blue. So now we're pointing it left, which we need to be doing.
Not it, I'm afraid.
Apparently messing up here? Or maybe this just got to 6 activations now. I might have counted wrong. I hope I'm right. Yeah, that's my bad for miscounting there. This might be a red sequence? No, not quite. A little less populated. This one's being very tricky to find. Yeah, this just gives you some perspective of what you're getting into with this mod. I can't find it.
That's not
Yeah,
it.
sorry about that. Okay, this should be 6 activations now, hopefully. Yep, I was off by 1. Sorry about that. Sorry for the strikes. Like I said, I knew I was going to be striking getting into this. It is a very tricky mod to actually teach. I was off by 1 timer activation. My bad for that. I just can't count. So, as always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to stay crazy, stay cool, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.